This is a CC Radio podcast.
Welcome to the Countdown's feature review. This week we are doing Velvet Buzzsaw from Netflix, y'all.
Indeed, we are. Obviously, I am Paul.
I'm Wayne.
And this is the fifth or sixth of these we've done. We're still on Netflix because, well, it'd be lovely.
Fuck all out
It'd
of
be
the films.
really lovely if the cinematic releases would pick up their game for 2019. Next week, we will have a new cinematic release for you. More on that at the end of the episode. Last week, we did Polar, the Mads Mikkelsen Netflix film, which Wayne hated with a fiery passion.
That was a piece of shit.
And I thought was extremely average.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that most people tended to agree.
Tend to shit, yes.
There was a few people that said thank you for the warning to get out of that.
Good.
For example, JM Junk said, my wife didn't run for 5 minutes last night, so I'm going to take a massive piece of shit for $1,000, Alex, because I said two options. Either a massive piece of shit or is this a genre redefining winner?
It is not that.
Basically. And Tim McCormack said, the movie lets the Mads character down.
Very much so.
Probably a perfect sort of synopsis of the film. And Mike Seibert, good friend of the show, long-term listener, said, that's a bummer. Between Casino Royale and Hannibal, I've grown quite fond of Mads Mikkelsen and was kind of looking forward to this.
He's done some good work. This is just his Robert De Niro type.
Great review, though.
Film. Yeah.
Look, we obviously didn't follow our boat, but does Velvet Buzzsaw produce something different? The $21 million feature film from Dan Gilroy, the guy who brought us Nightcrawler about 5 years ago, and it's also starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo, Toni Collette, Zoe Ashton, Tom Sturridge, Natalia Dyer, Dowie Diggs, Billy Magnuson, and John Malkovich. And look, Dan Gilroy wrote it as well. It is 113 minutes long. And Wayne, what is the Buzzsaw about?
Well, Velvet Buzzsaw drops the audience into the absolute hellscape of Miami's art scene. It follows a prominent art critic, Morph Vanderwalt, that's Jake Gyllenhaal, who attends art installations, and every gallery owner wants to be his friend because his reviews can make or break an exhibit and an artist. He, along with other prominent art industry players like Rene Russo and some other people I don't recognize, come across this recently deceased artist's paintings and start selling them off at a huge price because they're amazing. The thing is, there's something weird about the paintings. They seem to be, well, evil. Or something. There's something going on here.
They're cursed.
And pretty soon some bad shit goes down, which seems to be punishing those who let greed get in the way of art.
That is it.
That's the movie. It's a slasher movie about killer paintings.
Yeah, sort of. It's two films,
Sort of.
actually, I would argue.
Absolutely.
And therein lies my biggest bugbear with Velvet Buzzsaw.
I see.
It is very tonally all over the shop.
It is totally all over the shop. Now, I didn't know. I try to do this now. If with Netflix, you can do this. You can just walk into the movie and you don't know what it is about. You don't even have to see the trailer. I just knew it was some sort of thriller involving the art industry. So automatically, I'm interested.
Yeah, because you're an artist.
I like it. Yeah, I like to draw a little.
Did you know it was Dan Gilroy?
I actually think I'd heard previously that it was the Nightcrawler guy, which makes me think, holy shit, because Nightcrawler was awesome, right? Jake Gyllenhaal is good in this. I liked him very much.
I agree. I thought
He's
he was
done
very
a good job of being like sort of, he's an odd character. You don't know necessarily even where his tastes lie. It's just because I think that's the whole point. He was talking about how he's an art critic. His job is to take a side or make a decision or decide or whatever, let things in and out of his life. So obviously he has trouble making decisions now, right?
Well, it's interesting. The first, let's say, 50 minutes of the film, maybe an hour of the film, it's a very slow burn build up.
It's a slow burn build up.
It's mostly, it's kind of, Gilroy himself has described the film as kind of Robert Altman set against the art scene when the thriller horror elements come into play. So it's not just following Jake Gyllenhaal's character.
No.
I would say there's three leads. There's him, there's the gallery owner, Rene Russo, and then there is the girl who works for her who finds these paintings. It's really the three of theirs film.
Yeah, I would agree.
Particular. And then there's the periphery characters around some of the other artists, some of the other gallery owners.
John Malkovich.
For example. And yeah, like I was fine with all that. I guess none of them are good people. None of them. There is hard to find a sympathetic character amongst the bunch. Arguably, Jake Gyllenhaal's closest, but even then, the way he dumps his boyfriend and gets with someone else, there's no consequences at all for that, and which is odd.
I imagine that's the point of this show. Okay, this is, I think, supposed to be a satire on the art industry.
It's absolutely satire.
Right?
Yep.
So for me, I didn't know it was even a slasher film. I just knew it was in like some weird movie.
It must be very strange for you not knowing where it was going, because
No.
that's the only reason I was interested in it.
That actually, me not knowing was what made me kind of more interested, but also bewildered, because like I'm sitting there watching the show going, I see this art installation and the people talking about art so pretentiously, and this is worth $1 million, and then all that sort of shit, right? It's like the height of the 1%, right? So I look at it and I go, I'm still finding this really interesting, because it's making quite a good comment on how people don't really know what art is, and it's just a business now.
Yeah.
Right?
And I saw you last night, and you
Yeah.
were about halfway through the film, I think you said.
That's
and you
right.
said, I'm really enjoying it.
I'm really enjoying it because I really, really liked it.
And what you missed was Patsy, my partner, turning to me with this face like, what the fuck?
Oh, really? She did not like it?
She didn't, and I'm very middling on this
Okay,
film.
because I'll tell you about this, all right? I liked it because I hadn't seen the bits that I had seen yet. I was probably a third through it.
Okay.
All right, I wasn't halfway through it. So I was doing this. I'm like watching it going, okay, I'm intrigued at the fact that they've, the idea that, because it's really, to me, it was like The Big Short. It's about the business, and it's really interesting
Yes.
to me, right?
It's very much a comment on how
There's some content about the monetization of art, and
monetization of art, but also ruthless.
Yes.
How vindictive people are, how it's all about the egos, and not just the artists' egos, it's the gallery owners, it's
pure
the,
perception.
it is the buyers, it's all of the above. And then, of course, the critic, which Jake Gyllenhaal plays Morph. And in some ways, I admired him being like, oh, I just do what I do, and if it destroys a career, it destroys a career. It's not my bad.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
Wants his integrity.
on the other hand, it was like he was very callous and not
Totally.
caring, and
He'll do whatever he can to get.
fuck
yeah.
you, I am the king.
Totally. And
So-
that's it.
But as you said, he was very good. I thought all the cast were good. My biggest pro on this film is the cast as an ensemble together work very, very well.
Fine. They're
No
fine.
one stands out as a bad actor.
No, I wouldn't
At
say
all.
that. I would also say, though, that when I call it ghost shit happens, where I look at like,
The technical term.
yeah, there's like, I didn't know there was a supernatural element to it at all. So when the
So
fucking
was that
painting started-
surreal for you?
I was like,
was
what
it as
the
surreal
fuck
for
is-
you as it was for the characters?
Yes, because I was like, what the fuck is this?
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and I was like, why is it doing that? And then all of a sudden I started seeing these weird shit happen, and it's like, it's not even a case where you can say, oh, maybe it's in their head. You are told as an audience, this actual shit is happening. So now it becomes like a supernatural thriller, and I'm like, I really wasn't in the mood for that. I was like happy for this shit, because I'm never in the mood for that shit. When it starts like, the paintings have the dude with the eye moving, and there's a weird cloud. It starts becoming a bit of a surreal type show, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I would probably say that I kept forgetting it had a new supernatural element to it, because I was like, oh, what's happening with this artist now? What's doing this? And then, oh, that's right. These are paintings with, turning to shit. And then I would say my problem is that there's no real explanation, because this movie just got
Correct.
weird. It got weird
Correct.
all of a sudden.
Without giving anything away, Gilroy plays fast and loose with the supernatural threat in this film.
Because
Like,
there's no rule.
There is no rules. Nothing's established.
You don't quite know. That's shit.
And I don't want to spoil. We'll
Yeah.
wait for the spoilers. I'll hit the spoiler marker fairly shortly, but things develop in a way which is like, what?
Well, does this mean that, or does it mean this?
Yes.
Exactly. And that's not satisfying.
I
So
agree. I
think
100% agree.
So I think the idea here is that the film is shiny and hollow, just like some aspects of high art, because it's a beautiful looking film. I actually think it looks quite nice. Like it's not like breathtaking and beautiful, but
It's okay.
it's aesthetically pleasing because the paintings and stuff. Like there's a few scenes where there's an image that you keep getting shown in like of one of these guys' pictures, or one of these guys' paintings, and at the very end, the shot of Rene Russo sitting
Yes.
down is that image, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit cool. I would like a lot more of that shit. A lot more of that fucking Paul Schrader looking shit, like where he does that. So that kind of stuff I did like about it. So aesthetically, I really like the movie. But it turned to it got weird, and it wasn't satisfying at the end. That's what pissed me off.
Okay, that's fair. As I'm not the artist that you are,
No, but you don't have to be.
I
It's just
enjoyed
like,
the satire of poking fun at
Hmm.
what I assume is Gilroy's version of the art industry,
Yeah.
and the type of characters who likely populate it. So, as someone who has no access to that from where I sit, I can only assume that there is an element of truth to what he's saying.
I mean, yeah. I look. I only attend art galleries in Perth and a few overseas, but the pretentious wankers,
Yes,
are all there.
that's what
It's
I'm trying to say.
all there, right? So, and it's hilarious.
So I did chuckle a bit for the first half. I knew what was coming. Unlike you, I'd watched the trailer. That's what I was there for.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan of horror, I can't even describe this film as a horror film.
I
It's not
wouldn't say
frightening
that either.
enough.
No.
It's not bloodthirsty enough. It's at best, like you say, a supernatural thriller.
Hmm.
And I wasn't happy with the results of sticking these two completely disparate genres together.
I would have
and
preferred
hoping they work.
exactly. I would have preferred a straight art slasher film. No fucking supernatural shit.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that because now I can.
Yeah,
now I got something to hang on to.
from that dude's estate was
Yeah,
running around
it'd be
and
like
killing
Basic
people.
Instinct. Fuck it. It would feel like that. I
Yeah.
would like that much better. So if it weren't for the supernatural thing, I'd like it a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas it almost bemes Final Destination-y
It's gonna
in the
fit in
last
both
half
camp.
an hour where you're like, oh, how's this person going to die? What's
Exactly.
going to happen? What's going to happen with the art? And sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't.
And the assistant girl, she has this habit of stumbling onto dead bodies.
Yeah.
Is really funny.
That also made me laugh a lot. So, look, overall, it was very middling in this film. It's the barest of passes for me, but it's not a good film. By my estimation,
No,
it's almost too ambitious. It's perfect fodder for Netflix to dump in late January, or 1st of February is when it was released. It's certainly, and there's a reason it's in 1st of February and it's not being released at the end of this coming year or this year now, because there's no way this has any Oscar bars or any consideration.
No way.
It's not that kind of film.
No, it won't be. And I can tell you that I think I have about 7 people I would recommend this movie to. And that's not because of the slasher part or anything else. It's because of pretty much the first half hour, which I liked, is really enjoyable if you like that world.
Okay.
So that's about it.
All right. Well, let's get into spoilers then and determine just exactly where the film gets it right and goes wrong. All right. Free reign now.
All right.
So as you said,
yes, please.
there is no rule. So initially, the art itself that was created by this guy who died, because his will said, or he said, I want all my paintings to be destroyed.
Right.
All my work to
and
be
he was in the
destroyed.
middle of doing it himself, but then he died or something.
Right. And then, as you said, it's people who are profiteering off, who are illicitly, illegally allowing their
They found them and
greed,
stole them.
yeah, to who get targeted seemingly by the paintings.
Right.
But then a weird thing happens in the last 20 minutes of the film where the curse/supernatural element seems to infect all art.
Yes. He doesn't just...
Which I really hated.
I don't like that at all. And also, the point was made too late in the movie. So the idea is that he fucking... Because he paints with his own blood and shit like that. There's some horrible thing because he's some horrible guy, or not horrible guy, but he did lots of bad things.
Yeah.
He was abused, all that sort of shit, right?
Traumatized.
So, but now... And I guess for the end of the movie, because the art world is the art world, his paintings are now going to be distributed all around the world, and even to, like, in cheap, small, like, because at the end, he sold them for $5 and stuff. Does that mean he's now going to kill everyone that's near these paintings? And
I think that's the heavy implication that now this stain is spreading through the world.
I mean, it's unclear whether Dees is killing the characters because they were using art for personal profit. It's possible the small amounts they're now being sold for could keep the buyers and sellers safe. Maybe. But you don't know, see? So that's why it's a bit shit.
Yeah. But the moment that, so both Morph and Rene Russo's, I can't remember, Redactra, or
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
They realize, Morph gets it first. He's the one that realizes what's going on and tries to warn people. But then he is targeted by, Hobo Man or whatever the hell that thing was called. And I'm like, but Hobo Man was nothing to do with
it's just
the art.
And same with the girl. She walks into the gallery and all the art on the wall just starts to fucking drip. But that's not his art.
It wasn't even a gallery. It was just graffiti. And
exactly. And it just turned into
itself.
a gallery. So this is a lot. I think ultimately there's some commentary here as well regarding the crash commercialism of art versus an outsider like Dees who hoarded all of his work and still refuses to see it sold beyond the grave, despite his art being worth millions, so much so that he hates the people who do the millions thing.
Yeah, apparently it was based on some real artist. And then Gilroy was working on Superman Lives, and when that crashed and burned, and he just got, jettisoned out the back door of Hollywood, so to speak.
He's the artist in this movie.
He was sitting on a beach and trying to make sense of it all and came up with the basic concept for this film, which apparently is reflected in the very final shot of the film, which is John Malkovich, who somehow survives this movie on a beach just twirling a stick through the sand and creating random art.
I think there's some aspect of proximity which affects whether people die. If you're near the art, you can get killed if you profited off it. This is what I'm thinking. He wasn't. He was on an island somewhere.
Yeah, but what was strange to me was he was not a nice guy. That's fine. He didn't need to die because he's not a nice guy. But almost like all the major characters all die, and all the peripheral characters all live.
I'll tell you why he lived. He was an artist.
Yes.
It's only the commercializers that die.
Same with the African-American dude from Blind Spotting.
The guy who directed this is pissed off. He's pissed off at the system. He's pissed off at the studios.
Yeah, you're right.
He's an artist that got fucked over, so fuck all the people who fucked me over.
Yep.
That's what this is.
Yeah, seems like it. That may well be a good interpretation.
Let's talk about you say the final shot with over the credits with John Malkovich,
Mm-hmm.
right? What about the final shot of the fucking painting? There's a shot they just close up on this painting, which seems to be this like idyllic kind of image of a sunset over a valley with a little girl dancing. And like shirtless boy builds a fire. I don't know if that's trying to symbolize him and his sister who might have died along with his mother because he set a fire to his dad. There's all this sort of other shit in there that I would like to know if there was if maybe when this is out a bit further I can read online because I'm not going to fucking think about it. I like the idea of imagery being reflected because like what's his name? Fincher does that a lot, but in a really artful way. This would be something interesting.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately no. It's not. Like I said, there's 7 people I can recommend this to. I do not think it got anywhere near the heights of Nightcrawler.
No,
not even close. Right.
In fact, the drop away in Gilroy's career after Nightcrawler, and he did one film with Denzel Washington, and Denzel was nominated for it, but kind of an out of left field nomination a couple of years back.
What is it?
Roman Esquire Jr. or
okay, I've heard
something
of it.
like that. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on the film. But this is such a step backwards, even though it's playing in the same sandbox. It's still a satirical look and an element of the media / art that the common person, i.e. you and I, have no access to. So it's his very cynical take on it. And arguably this film is a much more cynical film than even Nightcrawler was.
I don't hate it necessarily. I don't think it's bad necessarily.
No,
I don't think it's good necessarily though either.
No, that's why I said I'm middling on it. I'm very middling.
What's your score?
Okay, so my final score I gave Polar much higher than you, 52.
Yeah.
I'm giving this a 51.
Oh, okay. I liked it visually, so I'm giving it 55.
Okay, so you are slightly higher.
Yeah, but it's not enough for me to sell it
the
anymore.
most generous of passes, but
yeah,
it's not a good film.
Barely there.
It's not satisfying. It wants to be both things.
That's right. It is not enough of either.
Exactly
what it is.
That's the problem, basically in a nutshell, with Velvet Buzzsaw. All right, that is our review of Velvet Buzzsaw. What do we miss? What do we get right? Let us know on our social media, on Twitter at The Countdown PC, through email at thecountdownpodcast@gmail.com, or indeed, you can hit us up in our Facebook listener community. The link is in the show notes. Wayne, anything else today before we wrap up this Velvet Buzzsaw review?
No, because I'm looking forward to next week's cinematic release.
That's right, we're doing Cold Pursuit will be the next feature review with
Liam Neeson
in his typical released
And his
around
cock.
January, February.
Yep.
Thriller, actioneer / I believe this one's a bit more of a black comedy as well.
His cock is the end credit. Go on.
We almost got through a serious episode.
Sorry.
We do apologise. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Paul.
My name is Wayne.
We will catch you next Tuesday for the main app and next week for Cold Pursuit.
See you then, kids.
I only want you for your money.